Ireland overwhelming favourites in Dublin. Does that mean then, by the laws of rugby, that an upset win by Wales is almost inevitable? My name is Mark, let's talk rugby. Ireland v Wales. This one is on Saturday the 24th of February 2024. Kickoff is 2:15 GMT. For those of you watching in Ireland, I believe coverage is on RTE. It's at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. Last year it was Wales 10, Ireland 34 in the Principality Stadium, or I still know it as the Millennium Stadium. So we're going to have a look at the two teams. First of all, we'll go down quickly through the teams and then we'll come back and have another sweep through them. So starting with Irish team, home team. So front row, Andrew Porter, Dan Sheehan, Tyke Furlong. Second row, Joe McCarthy and Tyke Byrne. Back row, Peter O'Mahony, Josh Van der Fleer, Caelan Doris. Halfbacks, James Gibson Park and Jack Crowley. James Lowe on the left wing. Bundy Aki and Robbie Henshaw on the centres, Calvin Nash on the right wing, and Kieran Frawley there at full back. Replacements then, Ronan Kelleher, Cian Healy, Ollie Yeager, James Ryan, Ryan Baird, Jack Conan, Conor Murray and Stuart McCluskey. So that's your Ireland team. On to then the visitors, Wales. So front row for them, Garrett Thomas, Elliot Dee, Kieran Azarati. Second row, David Jenkins and Adam Beard. Back row, Alex Mann, Tommy Reffel and Aaron Wainwright. Halfbacks, Tomas Williams and Sam Costello. Left wing, Rio Dyer. Centres, Nick Tompkins and George North. Right wing, Josh Adams. And fullback, Cameron Winnett. Replacements then, we got Brian Elias, Corey Domachowski, Dylan Lewis, Will Rowlands, Mackenzie Martin, Kieran Hardy, Eoin Lloyd and Mason Grady. Okay, so let's have a closer look at the Irish team first. So front row, as expected, I would say, like Andrew Porter, definitely come back into a bit of form. Dan Sheehan has been talking this week about how he's improved the other parts of his game, like attacking part of his game, always excellent. He's been working more on his set piece and his defensive duties as well. So hopefully we can see that improvement in this game. Tyke Furlong there, another, guy who was kind of out of form last year, definitely back in form this year. Still not at the level that had him, kind of almost undisputed as the best tight head in the world, but he's getting there and he's improving with each game, which, Ireland, they need that through the rest of the tournament. The second row then, Joe McCarthy preferred to James Ryan. This shows like what an impact he's had coming into the team to keep a quality lock such as James Ryan on the bench. Tyke Byrne, guy who just kind of found his form at exactly the right time, I think. Like, through the kind of the latter stages of the pool stages in the Champions Cup, you could see a little bit of him coming to form, and then suddenly put him in a green shirt and he was back firing on all cylinders. So again, another guy that Ireland, I think, will need a big game from. The back row is kind of restored to the normal group there after changes for the Italy game. Same with the rest of the pack as well, actually. Peter O'Mahony, captain, back in at 6. Josh Van der Fleer back to 7. Caelan Doris moves from 7 back to 8. So it's a very good unit there. Van der Fleer, we're seeing kind of glimpses of him, I'd say, of his best game. So he's still got a little bit to go in order to kind of hit those heights. Peter O'Mahony, the guy, just leads from the front, and he's a great asset to have, and great in there as well for things like line-out steals and just disrupting opposition line-out, and then a big threat at the breakdown as well. Then you got Caelan Doris there, I think, at 8. He's much more impactful, I think, because he can get his carries in a lot more space. And we've seen now, like the fact that he's added a little bit of footwork and a bit of evasion to his carries as well, and then just being so much more, impactful in terms of once he goes into contact, being able to make meters after contact as well. So again, something that Ireland will need from him. If Wales can stop him on the gain line, then Ireland then need to go to other options and find another way to kind of get front foot ball. But if Ireland can keep him getting over that gain line. Then that Welsh defence is never properly, set. They're going to be hard for them to compete then at the breakdown, and Ireland can get the quick ball that they really need. And a man who's very important to that is James Gibson Park as well. He's so fast at getting the ball away from the contact area and just keeping it going. Jack Crowley, we've seen he's been very good, right, in his opening 2 games. Some of it has been mixed. There have been a few mistakes in there, but listen, he's a young 10. He's learned his trade, on the job, as it were, and he's going to make mistakes. Just the fact that he has, first of all, the confidence to try things, and we don't want that taken away from him. And also he has the support around him as well, that when he does make a mistake, his head doesn't drop, and he keeps on going, and he produces something after that as well. And that's what we want to see more of as well. Then we got James Lowe there on the left wing. Massive left boot, but also, he's shown last time out as well, big threat in attack. Bundy Aki back in to the 12 jersey. He was easily Ireland's best player in the World Cup, and he's continued that form through into the Six Nations as well. Robbie Henshaw there with, given that Gary Ringrose is out injured, it makes sense for him to be in there in 13, but we need to see a little bit more from him. I think that he's probably out of the centres the one that needs to deliver a little bit more, simply because at the moment, as soon as Ringrose is fit, I think he goes straight back into the team. So he's got to put pressure on that and make it a selection headache for Andy Farrell and the rest of the coaches. So we want to see more from him. He has the skills, and he has that ability as well to either straighten the line and just carry hard and direct, or to be evasive as well, and really good on defensive side of things as well. But again, we just need to see him kind of elevating his game just that little bit more. Calvin Nash then on the right wing, I think he's had a very good debut tournament, and for him, I think it's just about trying to get involved more in the play, coming off his wing and offer himself as an option. We saw that in the Italy game. We want to see more of it in this game as well. Kind of in the first 2 rounds we saw him doing a little bit, but maybe a little bit more. Kieran Frawley in there instead of Hugo Keenan. It's kind of an open secret that Keenan was probably going to miss this game through injury, and it has come to pass. Kieran Frawley, I think, was the natural selection in there. I don't think anybody would argue with that, because the other option really, you rejig the back line and move some like Nash back there, and then bring somebody else on the wing, which I wouldn't be in favour of. Or like the other option in the squad really would have been Jacob Stockdale, and we saw Stockdale against his Ospreys, and he had an absolute nightmare of a game, trying to force things and press, drop the ball. I don't know how many times in that game. So if he was in the thoughts as a possibility at fullback, I think that certainly ruled them out. But I think the fact that he was released back to Ulster meant that they were going with Frawley anyway, and it kind of makes sense. Now Frawley, he's not as rock solid as Keenan under the high balls, but he's still decent back there. He's still, he will give that option to come in as a second distributor as well, coming into the line. So it gives something different than Keenan. He will obviously be targeted with bombs from Wales. They're trying to make him nervous, make him make a mistake that gives them really good field position in the Ireland 22. So no one would be surprised if that happens. It's just whether, if he does drop the ball, how he actually recovers from that. And obviously he's covering 10, which means that Farrell was able to go for a 6-2 split on his bench. So you got Ronan Kelleher there. We know all about him. Keane Healy as well, another guy, who I thought, once he missed out in the World Cup, that might have been his Ireland career over, but no, he's come again. Then Ollie Jaeger is an interesting one. So no Finlay Bealham on the bench. Finlay Bealham, I think last year in the Six Nations was Ireland's best prop, and probably behind Sheehan as the best, like second best front rower, I think. But his form has dipped a little bit this year, and that's why we're seeing Jaeger getting a shot there on the bench. But it's nice to see that competition there. We hope that it's not just competition for bench spots either, though. We want to see, himself, Jaeger and Beelum pushing Furlong as well for his spot in the first team. Then you got James Ryan there. What he's going to give you when he comes on. Ryan Baird, I think he's much improved this season, but we'd still love to see him make a 60-meter break in the game if he gets a chance. Jack Conan then comes on. He's got lovely offloading gain and lovely hands as well to bring other players into the game when it becomes a little bit looser towards the end. Conor Murray, personally, I would have gone with Craig Casey, because I think Casey is definitely the future. And I'd like to see him just getting more game time. I know we got to start against Italy, but I'd still like to see him just more regularly being involved. But I guess when you got 3 scrum halves, all top quality, you've got to keep everybody happy. So, I've no complaints about Conor Murray being on the bench. He's really improved himself in the last couple of years, when he was at a point where I think it looked like his Ireland career was over. Then Stuart McCluskey, I'm really happy for him as well, that he's getting more chances from the bench too, because the ability that he has, I think he's worth having on there, and I think he could do something special off the bench as well. Let's have a closer look then at the Welsh team. So front row, Gareth Thomas, Elliot Dee and Kieran Azarati. So you saw in the opening game, that Wales, they kind of changed. They had to change up the front row, because the front row that they started with, I think 2 of them are on the bench, right? That started the first match, and these guys came in and they kind of shored up their set piece and delivered around the park as well. Gareth Thomas, I think he's been really good for a while. I think Elliot Dee and Ryan Elias, those 2 are very close in terms of that hooker jersey, and you can see that chopping and changing through the rest of the terms as well. So let's see if Elliot Dee can take his chance now and kind of make that 2 shirt his own, and just keep Elias on the bench for the rest of the tournament. Kieran Azarati, he was one to start the tournament on the bench, and when he got his chance, he really took it, and he cemented his place in the team at the moment. And I think it's going to be, take a bit for Dylan Lewis to kind of dislodge him from that spot. Then the second row pairing are a little more settled. David Jenkins and Adam Beard, that looks like if fit, that is the locking combination for Wales, at least for the rest of this year. I think, other than obviously on summer tours, they might try other people out, but I think if you're picking your first team, those are your locks. The back row has changed a bit through the tournament as well, but it looks like maybe finally Gatland has settled on a back row that he likes, that is well balanced. So Reffel, I think, has been probably Wales's best player of the tournament, and up there so far in the first 2 rounds as one of the best players across the entire tournament as well. Aaron Wainwright has been decent. He's key to them, kind of like Doris for Ireland in terms of go forward. His carries have to be good, and he can't get stopped on that gain line. So both of them are going to be trying to get their teams on the front foot. Tomas Williams then retained at 9, so it's nice to see a little continuity there. But 10, no real continuity. Sam Costello has now come back in, so Johan Lloyd drops down to the bench, and it feels like that's a position where there's too many changes, just too much cycling through the same group of players in the 10 shirt. And I'd like to see Gatland decide this guy is definitely my number 110, and I'm going to back him now and give him a run of 3, 4, 5 tests in a row as the starting 10, and not keep changing. Oh, sorry, you just hit something there. And not keep changing, because I think Sam Costello is a really good player. I think Johan Lloyd is a really good player with lots of potential to come as well. But still, I think it's a very important position in your team, and having that consistency in terms of knowing who's going to be the 10 is very important. So if they can get that out of this Six Nations, I think Wales will be in a much better place. They've got Rio Dyer, who seems to be a fixture now on the left wing. Even despite kind of the Dragons' form, dropping off, he's kept his form up. Centre pairing has been a bit of a problem for them as well. Again, chopping and changing a lot. Tompkins and North, though, I think that looks, certainly on paper, a decent centre combination there. And, they're not going to make it easy for Aki and Henshaw either, but it is a tough test of their partnership there. Josh Adams, I think if there were more wing options, realistic wing options for Wales, he'd probably be out of this team. Not just because of the stupid penalty that he gave away by throwing the ball into the crowd, but also because I think if Wales had another young exciting winger to try on that right wing, I think that's a place where they'd like to put it. Had players like that in most teams through the tournament, and those players can still go on and win 20, 30 more caps, beyond the time when it feels like they should be replaced. So never doubt, somebody who's been there for a long time, because they have been there and they've done it. And Josh Adams, all he needs, is a sniff of a try and he's over to score. And all those doubts kind of disappear again. And then if there is a young pretender coming along, he's going to show them, exactly what they need to do to dislodge him from that position. Cameron Winnett has been a bit of a revelation, I think, in the tournament. Wales came into this and everybody was thinking, well, no Liam Williams, no Halfpenny, etc. Who's going to be the fullback for them? And then Winnett came in and said, well, yeah, just give me. Give the shirt to me. And it's very similar actually to the way when Ireland had this situation of Rob Kearney retiring, and they went through, they tried a few different people, Lowry, Stockdale, etc. Back there, and then suddenly Hugo Keenan comes along and it seemed like out of nowhere and said, nope, this is my jersey. Nobody's getting it. I feel like that's what Cam Winnett is to this Welsh team at the minute. But with Gatlin at the moment, you can't kind of set anything in stone, but I hope that we see more and more of Winnett. Replacements then, Ryan Elias, we talked about him, I think is very close, for a starting place for him. Domachowski, I think, he did struggle when he got a start, so it's going to take a while, I think, for him to work his way back there, but he does give you something off the bench. Same with Dylan Lewis. Will Rowlands, it's a very good triumvirate to have there in the second row, and he won't kind of let the side down when it comes on. Mackenzie Martin is someone who's going to want to have impact and show that he belongs in the squad, I think, when he comes on. And then kind of similar with Kieran Hardy there, because the 9 position with Wales, you can be number 1, number 2, and then suddenly you're number 5, and you've got to climb that hill again. So he's got to really take it by the scruff of the neck when he comes on. Johan Lyde, he showed that he can have huge impact off the bench. He did it in the first game against Scotland, and I thought he didn't have his best game against England, but I still thought he went well and deserved to kind of continue. But let's see how he impacts from the bench. And then Mason Grady as well is another player who will want to, show that he belongs. I think he's someone who wants to show he belongs as a starter rather than just in the squad itself. So those are the 2 teams. Now we're going to have a look at some stats as well from the tournament so far. So tries scored, the top 2 try scorers in the tournament so far, Ireland with 11, Wales with 6, and Wales, interestingly enough, the only other team apart from Ireland to get a try bonus point. That was in the defeat to Scotland in the opening round. Line out takes then, top 2 teams in the tournament as well, 26 for Ireland, 28 for Wales. Line out steals though edges slightly to Ireland, 4 steals to 2. Kicks in play then, both kind of mid-pack, 60 for Ireland, 66 for Wales. And then line breaks, 18 for Ireland to 10 for Wales. So, Ireland really have been stretching defences in the first 2 rounds, and we'll see whether they can do that again against Wales. Meters gained then, because of those line breaks, like Ireland top of the charts with 994.6, Wales 689.9. So these meters over the gain line that they've got. So Wales have had decent impact, even though they lost their first 2 games. They're up there in a lot of the stats, and it shows that there's a lot of potential in the team, and they're just waiting really for a performance to put everything together and to turn over a more fancied side. And that could be Ireland on Saturday, or it could be it could be France maybe later on in the tournament. We don't know yet. But then total passes, both kind of up towards the top as well. I think top 2, 431 for Ireland and 334 for Wales. So both looking to kind of move the ball a lot. And but then an interesting one, points per 22 entry, 7.22 for Ireland. They're right up at the top. Wales down towards the bottom with 4.6. So Wales, they got to keep Ireland out of that 22, because if they don't, Ireland are coming away, coming away with points. And the fact that they're averaging over a try per entry, and obviously the reason for that because is like some of their scores are from outside of the 22, like penalties, etc. But still, it just shows that Ireland, when they get into your 22, potentially they're coming away with a try. Then average ruck speed. So Ireland the fastest in the tournament with 2.94, and Wales the slowest with 3.98. So a full second between them. And in Test rugby, a second for extra second for you to get the ball out every single ruck, compared to an extra second for a defence to set, is a huge difference. So if it continues like that, you're going to see Ireland's defence being a lot more set once Wales gets the ball out of the ruck, and then the opposite, that Wales defence won't be properly aligned by the time Ireland are moving that ball. And so Wales, obviously, they've talked about this week that they want, they feel like they can get at this Ireland team. They feel like Ireland played really well, but other teams have allowed them. That's what the kind of wording they've been using. Other teams have allowed them to play that way. Wales feel that they can get in there, disrupt. And we've seen with Ireland in the past, Ireland don't like to commit too many people to the ruck. They like to have options for, carries, dummy runs, etc. So they generally don't resource the ruck all that well, and just rely on the fact that, really good ball placement and positioning from the ball carrier, and then James Gibson Park getting the ball out there before there can be any kind of counter ruck coming in. So expect Wales to get in there and try and compete from early on, maybe picking times to flood numbers in, win penalties, turn ball over, that kind of thing, and trying to disrupt Ireland early on. There is a downside to that as well, though, obviously, because if Wales do commit numbers to a ruck, but Ireland still manage to get that quick ball out, then not only will Wales' defensive line not be set properly, they'll be down the numbers that they committed to the ruck. And that's where, those line breaks from Ireland come in, where Ireland are so good at exploiting that space that, one kind of wrong decision for Wales in that, and Ireland could be under the post scoring a try. And that's the risk that you take when you go after the ball of a team like Ireland, is that you get in there, as I said, and disrupt, get penalties, turn it over, etc. But one mistake and you're potentially giving them 7 points. So it's a bit of a risk to take. Now, in terms of the game itself, how do you think it's going to go? Well, I'm an old school Ireland fan, so I never feel too optimistic going into a weekend. So, and I've never been and I've always tried on this channel as well to be objective. When I'm talking about my own team, especially, I can't just be, Ireland are much better than Wales, so therefore Ireland are just going to hockey them. So there's always a chance that Wales are going to win. Like some people say, oh, Wales have no chance, and etc., etc. But if you watch rugby for as long as I have, you know that, upsets, bigger upsets, if this was to happen, than this have happened in the past. A team gets up, the favourite team is, it doesn't have to be much off the pace, like 5-10% off starting out, and then, as I said, Wales get a few turnovers, a few penalties. Ireland maybe make a couple of mistakes. Maybe Frawley drops the ball. Suddenly Wales get a little bit ahead, and their tails are up, and then Ireland have to chase the game, and so that possibility is there, right? And you have to accept that. But on the balance of everything, like how well both teams have gone so far, again, I think this Wales team in a couple of years' time, if they keep developing the way they are going to be absolutely, a really good team, and a team that could push for the title. But I think in this particular game, Ireland, there's just too many things on their side not to back them. I think Ireland, they're going to win, and it is going to be tight for a while, but I think Ireland just have that ability to ease away, and especially watch out for just before halftime and just after halftime. Those are the times that Ireland and Leinster have this ability to get in there and just hit teams when they're thinking about either going in for the halftime break, or when they've just come out after halftime. Ireland can strike quickly, and if they do that, then that could kill the game off as a contest. But yeah, I think Ireland are going to win probably by, I would say, a couple of scores, honestly. Not a huge hammering of Wales or anything like that, because again, I think there's quality in that Wales team, but I think that it's going to be comfortable in the end for Ireland.